Mom, you actually believe that? My daughter Chloe scoffs, stirring her salad. The guy who mows his lawn in cargo shorts is a doctor? Please, Kevin's surgeon is Harvard trained. Her husband Kevin chuckles from the other end of the table. Maybe he's a doctor of botany, Mom, for his dandelions. The table erupts in laughter. I grip my iced tea, my knuckles white. I don't laugh, because I know something they don't. My name is Sarah, and I'm 36. For the last 15 years, I've worked as a data entry clerk for a regional insurance company. It's a quiet, unglamorous job that lets me work from home. To my family, especially my daughter Chloe and her husband Kevin, that makes me simple. I live in a modest duplex next to a retired couple and their son, Mark, the guy in the cargo shorts. In my family, the measure of success is money and titles. Chloe is a real estate agent, Kevin a financial consultant. They drive leased BMWs and name drop their country club. I was the one who didn't go to a fancy college, who stayed in our hometown, who brings a casserole instead of a fancy wine. But what they didn't know was that while they were busy accumulating debt to look rich, I was playing a different game. My quiet life gave me time. Time to learn. Time to watch the market. I wasn't glamorous or loud, but I had a secret they never expected. I had become quietly, dangerously wealthy through years of smart investing, something I never told a soul. If you've ever been the one your family underestimates, the one they dismiss because your life doesn't look flashy on the outside, hit that subscribe button. Tell me your story in the comments. Let's remind each other that our quiet lives can hold the biggest power. Click hype and let's go. The real trouble starts a week later. I get a frantic call from Chloe. Kevin collapsed at work. He's in the hospital. It's serious. I drop everything and rush there. The hospital waiting room smells like antiseptic and anxiety. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead. Chloe is a wreck, her designer blouse wrinkled, her mascara smudged. They don't know what's wrong, she sobs, clutching my arm. They're bringing in a specialist. He's the best in the city. She looks at me, her eyes puffy. This is where who you know matters, Mom. Kevin's partners called in a favor. You just don't understand this world. Just then, a team of doctors rounds the corner. Leading them is a tall, composed man in a crisp white coat. It's Mark, my neighbor's son. He gives me a small, respectful nod as he passes. Chloe follows my gaze. Wait, she whispers, horrified. Is that the lawn guy? I don't have time to answer before a nurse calls her into a consultation room with the team. 20 minutes later, she storms out, her face pale. She ignores me completely, walking straight to the vending machine. Before I can go to her, a gentle hand touches my elbow. It's Mark. He guides me a few steps away from the bustling nurse's station, his face serious and kind. Sarah, he says quietly so no one else can hear. I need to tell you something. I just finished consulting on your son-in-law's case. We ran the tests. The diagnosis isn't good, but that's not what I need to tell you. He hesitates, looking pained. His wife, your daughter, she tried to offer me a bribe, right there in the room. She said, whatever it takes, name your price, just fix him. She thought she could buy a diagnosis. Mark's revelation floors me. He explains he politely declined, of course, and attributed it to stress. But the arrogance, the assumption that everything and everyone has a price, shakes me to my core. Over the next few weeks, Kevin's treatment begins. I'm at the hospital constantly, helping, but the tension escalates in 3 distinct ways. First, Kevin's parents fly in from out of state. Patricia and Richard arrive with their designer luggage and their judgmental stares. They book out a private room in the hospital's family lounge for a care strategy meeting. I'm not invited. The next day, Chloe tells me about it in the hallway. It's just for the immediate family, Mom, she says, adjusting her watch. You know, the ones who can actually contribute to the medical fund. She gestures to my worn-out purse. The implication hangs in the air like smoke. I'm useless. I'm just the woman with the cheap handbag who brings casseroles. Second, there's the cafeteria incident. I'm sitting alone with my coffee, the cheap kind that tastes burnt, when I hear Patricia's voice 2 tables behind me. She's talking loudly with a friend who came to visit. I just don't understand the type of people who live in those little duplexes by the highway, Patricia says. The kind of person who thinks a casserole solves everything. Her friend murmurs something I can't hear. I just don't know what Chloe gets from her, Patricia continues. She's not exactly an asset in a crisis, is she? The humiliation burns hot in my chest. I sit perfectly still, staring at my coffee cup. The sound of the vending machine humming is the only thing louder than my own heartbeat. I stay silent and sip my coffee. Third, the manipulation. The hospital bills start arriving. Kevin's insurance is maxing out. Chloe calls me, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Mom, we're in a bind, she says. We need to sell your house just temporarily, to float us until Kevin is back on his feet. You can move in with us into the guest room. It's the least you can do for your grandson to keep his dad alive. They weren't just excluding me or mocking me. They were trying to take the one thing I had, my home. They assumed I was destitute and desperate enough to agree. I simply said, "Let me think about it," and hung up. They thought they had won. What they didn't know was that I didn't need to think about it. I was already executing a plan they never saw coming. My useless life of data entry had been my cover. For 10 years, every spare dollar I had didn't go to a new car or designer clothes. It went into a brokerage account. I taught myself technical analysis in the evenings, my laptop glowing in the dark of my small living room. I studied earnings reports like other people study novels. I made quiet, calculated bets on tech stocks and index funds. I wasn't a day trader. I was a long-term investor who treated the market like a garden. Plant, nurture, and wait. By the time Kevin was in the hospital, my portfolio wasn't just comfortable. It was substantial. 7-figure substantial. Enough to buy a dozen duplexes. I had also been quietly venting to my cousin Jenna. She's the family's black sheep, an artist who moved to Santa Fe and never comes to holidays. We've stayed close through late-night phone calls, the kind where you talk for hours about everything and nothing. She knows everything about Chloe's cruelty and the family's obsession with status. When I told her about the attempted bribe and the plan to take my house, she was furious. "Sarah," she said, her voice crackling through the phone, "you need to stop hiding. You need to let them see who they're dealing with." Jenna becomes my anchor. She flies in, telling no one. We meet in secret at my duplex. The smell of my coffee fills the kitchen as we sit at my small table. "They're going to keep pushing you until you break," she says, "or until you push back." Meanwhile, the family's arrogance reaches a peak. Patricia takes over the fundraising for Kevin's care, sending emails to their wealthy friends. I hear through the grapevine that she's raised thousands. Chloe starts looking at my house on Zillow, talking about clearing out the clutter after I move in with them. They treat my belongings, my mother's china, my father's old books, as things to be sold or thrown away. They have a family dinner at a fancy steakhouse to celebrate Kevin being discharged, and I'm not even told about it. Jenna and I craft a plan. We don't want a public scene. We want a private reckoning. I invite Chloe and Kevin, along with Patricia and Richard, over to their house. I tell them I have an answer about the house and need to discuss it. They agree, probably expecting to hand me a moving box. The tension is thick as we all sit in their pristine beige living room. The air smells like expensive candles, something with sandalwood and vanilla. Kevin looks pale but determined. Chloe has a smug, expectant smile. Patricia is already looking at her watch. They think they're about to close a deal with a pathetic, helpless woman. They have no idea they're about to walk into an ambush. "So, Mom," Chloe begins, leaning forward with a condescending tilt of her head, "have you thought about it? We really need an answer so we can list the house." I take a slow breath, then set a manila folder on their glass coffee table. The sound of it hitting the glass is sharp and final. "I have thought about it," I say, my voice calm. "And the answer is no," Patricia scoffs. "No. You're going to let your grandson suffer because you're attached to that little shack?" "I'm not letting anyone suffer," I reply. I open the folder. "I'm just not letting you steal my home because I don't need your help. You do." I slide a single sheet of paper across the table. It's a statement from my brokerage. Chloe glances at it, then does a double take. Her face pales, the color draining like water from a sink. "What is this?" she whispers. "It's a summary of my portfolio," I say. "It's enough to pay off Kevin's medical bills in full twice over, and I'm happy to do it." Kevin's jaw drops. Patricia snatches the paper, her eyes scanning the numbers. Her perfectly manicured fingers tremble slightly. "This is a lie," she whispers. "This is fake. You work data entry." "I also invest," I say. "I've been doing it for a decade. Quietly. Profitably. I didn't need a country club to learn how to make money. I just needed patience and a computer." The room is dead silent. The clock on their mantel ticks loudly. The smugness is gone, replaced by naked shock and greed. Chloe reaches for my hand. "Mom, this is incredible," she says. "This changes everything. We can move you into a better place. You're not listening," I say, pulling my hand back. "I'm happy to help, but there's a condition." I look directly at Patricia. The candle flickers between us. "You will apologize to me, in front of everyone, for every single insult at the hospital. For calling me useless, for treating me like I was nothing." Patricia's face contorts. Her jaw tightens. "I will not." "Then the answer is no," I say, standing up. Jenna, who has been silently watching from the hallway, steps forward. Her boots click on the hardwood floor. "And just so you know," Jenna adds, "I'm a witness to all of it. The bribe attempt the plan to take her house. If you try to fight this, I'll testify. They are utterly defeated, their own arrogance and cruelty used as the weapon against them. The silence in that room was more satisfying than any apology could have been. I didn't stay to watch them argue. Jenna and I walked out. The night air never felt so fresh. I did end up helping with the bills, but through an anonymous trust. They never saw a dime directly. They only knew the debt was gone. Chloe called, her voice small and broken, trying to rebuild a bridge. But the bridge was built on my terms now. I see my grandson often, but at my duplex, where he helps me in my small garden. The smell of tomatoes and marigolds fills the summer air. He's learned that the man next door in cargo shorts is a brilliant doctor, and that his grandma knows more about the stock market than anyone in a fancy suit. The family's dynamic shifted that day. They still have their BMWs and their clubs, but they know the truth. The quiet one, the one they laughed at, was the one who held all the power. They learned a hard lesson. Never confuse a quiet life with a weak one. I was never waiting for their approval. I was just waiting for the right moment to show them who I really was. Have you been the one your family tried to take advantage of, assuming you had nothing to give? I know how that feels. Subscribe and share your story in the comments. Let's create a space where we remind each other that our quiet strength is our superpower. Click hype to help this story reach others who have been underestimated. Thank you for watching. If my story touched you, a like would mean the world. To help others find this story, click hype. I always read the comments, so feel free to share a piece of your story with us. Your voice matters, and you never know who you might inspire just by sharing.